A single father returned a CEO's wallet with $40,000 inside, even though his daughter needed medicine he could not afford. So why did the woman who owned it follow him through the rain? Just after midnight in Pittsburgh, Noah Bennett stood beneath the chandeliers of the Hartwell Crown Hotel, soaked to the skin, surrounded by security, and accused of stealing the very wallet he had come to return. In one hand was the money that could have changed his life. Under his arm was a pharmacy bag that could not help his little girl. He asked for no reward. He only asked to leave. But what CEO Evelyn Hartwell discovered after following his battered truck would expose a hidden betrayal, challenge everything she believed about trust, and bring two wounded lives together. Stay until the end. And before we begin, like the video and tell us what city or country you are watching from. The question followed Evelyn into the rain. What could a man like Noah Bennett possibly want if $40,000 had not been enough to tempt him? His dark blue pickup rolled away from the Hartwell Crown Hotel with one taillight dimmer than the other. Rain swept across the rear window in restless sheets. 2 car lengths behind him, Evelyn sat in the back of her black sedan with the recovered wallet resting open on her lap. Every bill remained stacked in clean paper bands. Marcus Reed watched Noah through the windshield, then glanced at Evelyn in the rearview mirror. "You want me to keep following him?" Evelyn looked toward the pharmacy bag on the passenger seat of Noah's truck. She had seen him place it there before climbing behind the wheel. He had handled that small paper bag more carefully than the wallet containing enough cash to erase several years of ordinary debt. "Keep him in sight." Marcus did not move immediately. "May I say something you usually do? This is not an investigation. It is a woman following a stranger because she does not believe the evidence already in her hand." Evelyn closed the wallet. "The evidence in my hand was found open. He told you why. People say many things when security is standing beside them." Marcus held her gaze in the mirror for another second, then eased the sedan into traffic. Downtown Pittsburgh passed in wet fragments. Glass towers reflected traffic lights onto black pavement. Holiday garlands hung across hotel entrances. Couples hurried beneath shared umbrellas while valets opened doors for people who never looked at them. Noah did not drive like a man escaping. He stopped fully at every red light. He signaled before changing lanes. Near a dark bakery, a stray dog wandered into the street and Noah braked early enough to let it cross without fear. When an ambulance approached from behind, he pulled aside and waited until its lights disappeared over the next hill. Evelyn watched his truck return to the road. "You ran his plate?" she asked. "No." "Why not? Because you told me to follow him, not build a file on him." The answer irritated her mostly because it was the kind of distinction she had once considered important. Noah turned east, leaving the bright hotels and office buildings behind. The streets narrowed. Storefronts grew smaller and farther apart. A pawn shop sign flickered above a locked metal gate. Water gathered in potholes beside a 24-hour laundromat. Christmas lights hung from second-floor windows, some bright, some missing entire sections. His truck turned beneath a blue sign for Mercy Ridge Children's Clinic. Evelyn sat forward. Marcus slowed near the curb. Noah parked beside the emergency entrance but did not get out at once. He leaned over the steering wheel with both hands gripping it. For several seconds his forehead rested against his knuckles. Then he stepped into the rain. He took the pharmacy bag from the passenger seat and stood beside the truck, one palm pressed against the roof. His head lowered, not like a man performing prayer, but like someone waiting for the ground beneath him to stop moving. Evelyn opened her door. Marcus looked back at her. "No." She paused. "No, you have already followed him across the city. Do not follow him into a children's clinic." "I need to know why he came here." "No, you want to know." Rain struck the roof above them. Evelyn looked through the window as Noah entered the building. Marcus sighed. "If you go inside, at least admit this has nothing to do with your wallet anymore." Evelyn stepped out without answering. The clinic smelled of disinfectant damp coats and coffee that had been sitting too long beneath a warming light. Evelyn removed her coat hood and stayed near the entrance. Noah stood at the billing counter speaking to a woman in blue scrubs. His voice was so quiet that Evelyn had to move closer, stopping near the corner of a hallway where a vending machine hid part of her face. "I picked up the rescue inhaler," Noah said. The pharmacist said the new prescription still needs approval. The woman looked at her computer. I am sorry, Mr. Bennett. The insurance company rejected the specialist request again. Noah did not move. Dr. Shaw marked it urgent. I see that. The clinic submitted an appeal yesterday, but we have not received a decision. What happens tonight, she can use the rescue inhaler if her breathing tightens. The new medication is meant to reduce the episodes, but we cannot release it without payment or authorization. Noah looked down at the pharmacy bag. How much? The woman hesitated before turning the monitor slightly away from the waiting room. $3,240 for the first month. Evelyn's fingers closed around the edge of her coat. Noah's eyes remained on the counter. $3,240. Yes, what if I pay part now and the rest Friday? The pharmacy cannot divide this prescription. I have work scheduled Friday morning. I can bring another payment by noon. I wish I could approve that. Noah reached inside his jacket and removed a white envelope. The paper had softened at the folds. He counted the money twice. $687. The woman looked away. I am sorry. Noah returned the bills to the envelope. Could the doctor change the prescription? He chose this medication because the others have not controlled her symptoms. What am I supposed to watch for? The woman explained the signs of respiratory distress, how quickly to use the rescue inhaler, and when to call an ambulance. Noah listened without interrupting. He asked her to repeat the dosage once, then wrote it on the back of an old hardware store receipt. Evelyn could feel the weight of the wallet inside her coat. $40,000 had rested in Noah's hands. $3,240 stood between his daughter and the medication her doctor believed she needed. He had returned every bill. A small voice came from the hallway. Dad Noah turned so quickly that the envelope slipped from his fingers. A little girl stood beside a nurse wrapped in a thin clinic blanket over flannel pajama pants. Her brown hair had been gathered into an uneven ponytail. One arm hugged a stuffed red fox against her chest. Her face was pale, but her eyes were alert. Noah picked up the envelope and crossed to her. Hey, Sparrow. The girl looked at the pharmacy bag. Did they get the new medicine? Noah crouched until they were eye level. They are still working on it. Is that a no? It is a not yet. She studied his face with the careful attention of a child who had spent too much time around adults trying to sound calm. Did it cost too much? Noah's smile held. You let me worry about the boring money part. I can help. Your current financial contribution is $3.17 in a jar shaped like a penguin. $3.42. My mistake. We are practically retired. A faint smile reached her mouth. The nurse handed Noah a discharge packet. Her breathing is stable now. Keep her warm tonight. If the wheezing returns after the second inhaler dose, call emergency services. Noah nodded. Thank you. Dr. Shaw will call the insurer again in the morning. I appreciate that. The girl touched his wet sleeve. You are soaked. I was testing the weather. What did you learn? It is raining. She gave him a look of exaggerated disappointment. You are supposed to be an engineer. Former engineer. Mom said engineers notice things. The words changed his face. Only for a moment. Your mom also married me, so her judgment was not perfect. The girl laughed, then coughed into the blanket. Noah's humor disappeared. His hand moved to the center of her back, steady and practiced. Evelyn lowered her eyes. She had come looking for evidence of deception. Instead, she was standing in a hallway watching a father turn fear into jokes because his daughter was already carrying enough. Noah lifted the girl into his arms. She was 8, perhaps too old to be carried, but she settled against him as if both of them had agreed not to mention it. Were you scared? He asked. A little. He brushed loose hair from her forehead. That was brave. Were you scared? Noah glanced toward the billing desk. A little. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Then we were scared together. Evelyn felt something press painfully beneath her ribs. Noah carried Sophie toward the exit. As he passed the hallway corner, his gaze moved across the waiting room and stopped near Evelyn. She stepped behind the vending machine, but not before she saw the slight narrowing of his eyes. He had noticed her. She waited until the outer doors closed before returning to the sedan. Marcus said nothing when she climbed inside. Noah's truck remained in the parking lot. Through the windshield, Evelyn could see him settle Sophie into the passenger seat, wrap the clinic blanket around her legs, and check the rescue inhaler twice before placing it in the cup holder. "He has a daughter," Evelyn said. Marcus looked ahead. "Yes. You knew, I guessed. From what? The pharmacy bag, the clinic, the way he was trying not to fall apart beside his truck." Evelyn removed the wallet from her coat. "I offered him money in the lobby. Marcus started the engine, and he refused. He could have taken $3,000 and left the rest. I would never have known, but he would have." Noah's truck pulled away. Evelyn looked at Marcus. "Keep following." His hand remained on the gear selector. "He saw you, I know, and you still want to follow him home." The question sounded different now. Less like a challenge, more like a warning about the kind of person she could choose to become. Evelyn looked toward the clinic doors. "I need to know that the girl is safe." Marcus shook his head. "That is not yours to know. She should have listened." Instead, she said, "Please." Marcus looked at Evelyn for a long moment. One more stop, then this ends. Noah drove 20 minutes toward Hazelwood, crossing beneath the dark skeleton of a railroad bridge and passing rows of narrow houses pressed close to the street. The rain weakened to a fine mist. His pickup entered the lot of an aging brick apartment building beside a closed tire shop. Several porch lights were out. Rust stained the metal stairs. A blue tarp covered part of the roof. Evelyn's sedan stopped across the street beneath a bare sycamore tree. Noah went around to the passenger side and lifted Sophie from the truck. She protested weakly that she could walk. "I know," he told her. "I am being selfish. How I only get to carry you until you become too cool for me. I am already too cool for you. Then this is theft." She rested her head on his shoulder. Noah carried her up the exterior stairs, balancing her weight against one arm while using the other to unlock the door. A yellow porch bulb buzzed above them. Warm light spilled into the night. Marcus kept his eyes on the dashboard. "We should leave." Evelyn watched the window. The curtains did not close completely. She could see only fragments of the room. A narrow kitchen, a second-hand table with one chair repaired using silver tape. A small Christmas tree stood on a crate near the window. It was barely 3 feet tall and decorated with paper stars, yarn loops, and a single strand of white lights. Noah wrapped Sophie in a blanket and placed her at the table. He moved through the apartment with quiet precision. A kettle went onto the stove. Wet shoes were lined beside the heater. A towel was pushed against the base of a leaking window. He checked the inhaler, set a timer on his phone, then touched the back of his fingers to Sophie's forehead. Nothing in the apartment was careless. Nothing was wasted. Sophie pointed toward the counter. Noah hesitated. Then he opened a drawer and removed 4 envelopes held together with a rubber band. He placed them on the table one at a time. Rent, medicine, school lunch, Christmas. The words were written in thick black marker. Noah opened the rent envelope and counted the bills. Then he checked the medicine envelope. His shoulders lowered slightly. He moved $20 from Christmas into rent. Sophie watched him. "Is Santa still coming?" Noah stopped. He turned toward her with a smile so gentle that Evelyn felt ashamed to be watching it. "Santa has excellent people. Better than the mailman. Much better. What if we have to move?" Noah looked at the envelope marked rent. "Santa knows where to find us. Even if we do not know yet, especially then." Sophie touched the stuffed fox to the edge of the table. "Can we take the tree?" "Of course. And Mom's picture." Noah's eyes moved toward a framed photograph on the shelf. A woman with dark hair stood beside a younger Noah at the entrance of a bridge, laughing into the wind. Sophie was a baby in her arms. "First thing I pack," he said. Sophie nodded, satisfied by the order of things. Noah turned toward the stove. For 1 second he pressed his palm over his eyes. It was not a collapse. It was only a brief surrender to a feeling he could not afford to show his daughter. Then he lowered his hand, filled 2 bowls with soup, and returned to the table, pretending the spoon was too heavy to lift. Sophie laughed. The sound was faint through the glass, but it reached the car. Marcus finally looked toward the apartment. Not through the window. Only at the building. "You saw enough." Evelyn closed the wallet. "No," she said quietly. "I saw too much." She felt the truth of it as soon as the words left her mouth. Noah had not invited her into the clinic. He had not invited her to watch him count the money he did not have. His honesty did not give her ownership of his private pain. "Take me home." Marcus pulled away from the curb. The small window remained in the side mirror until the street turned. By the time Evelyn reached her penthouse, the rain had stopped. She set the wallet beside a vase of fresh flowers on the kitchen island. The black leather looked ordinary now. She removed the money and counted it once, not because she doubted Noah, but because she needed to feel the full obscenity of the amount. $40,000. He had held enough to pay Sophie's medication, settle the rent, repair the truck, and place gifts beneath the little tree. He had returned all of it to a woman who had followed him to make sure he was not lying. Evelyn stood at the window until the city began to pale. At 7:15, her phone buzzed. Grant had sent 3 messages. Board call at 9. Bring the flash drive. Security needs approval to run Bennett's background. Evelyn read the last message twice. Then she placed the phone face down. She opened her laptop and typed Noah Bennett's name into the search bar. A maintenance license appeared first. Then an old contractor listing. Then a newspaper archive from 11 years earlier. The photograph showed a younger Noah standing beside a flood-damaged bridge in western Pennsylvania. He wore a hard hat and held a rolled set of plans beneath one arm. The caption identified him as a structural engineer who had helped design temporary supports that reopened emergency routes after the river overflowed. Evelyn leaned closer. Another article carried a smaller photograph. Noah beside the same dark-haired woman from the apartment shelf. Rachel Bennett, a public school music teacher, killed in a highway collision. Their 3-year-old daughter had survived. Medical leave, missed contracts, debt, a professional license allowed to lapse. There was no scandal, no fraud, no hidden criminal history, only a life that had narrowed around grief and responsibility until the city stopped seeing the man who had once helped hold bridges above water. Evelyn closed the article. Her reflection hovered in the dark laptop screen. At 8:30, instead of entering the boardroom, she sat in the back booth of Harbor Street Diner with a cup of coffee cooling between her hands. The front bell rang. Noah Bennett walked in carrying a small toolbox. In daylight, he looked more tired than he had beneath the hotel chandeliers. His jacket had dried, but the cuffs were still dark with old rain. A thin cut crossed one knuckle. There were shadows beneath his eyes that coffee was not going to fix. The woman behind the counter looked up from a stack of receipts. "Morning, Noah." "Morning." "Lena, how is Sophie?" Noah paused before answering. "She slept." That was not the question. "She is breathing better." Lena studied his face, then nodded toward the kitchen. "The pipe under the prep sink is leaking again. You said the same thing last month, and you said you fixed it." "I did fix it." "Then explain the bucket." Noah set down his toolbox. "The pipe is emotional. It misses me." Lena folded her arms. "You eating first? Which one is free?" "The pipe." "Then the pipe." He disappeared through the kitchen door. Evelyn sat in the rear booth with both hands around her coffee. She had chosen a table far enough from the counter to avoid attention, though Marcus had told her the baseball cap made her look more suspicious, not less. She had left him in the sedan across the street. Now she watched Lena carry a plate toward a nurse near the window, refill 3 coffee cups, then glance toward the kitchen as though making sure Noah had not vanished. He belonged here. Not as an employee, not quite as a customer. He was the person people called when something broke and there was not enough money to replace it. A man at the counter snapped his fingers. "Coffee." Lena turned. "I will be right with you. I have been waiting 10 minutes. It has been 3. I have a meeting." Lena reached for the pot, but the kitchen door opened before she could move. Noah stepped out with a wrench in one hand and a rag over his shoulder. "The coffee is fresh," he said. The man looked him over. "Do you work here?" Noah picked up the pot. "Today, apparently." A few customers smiled. The man did not. "I asked her." "She heard you." "Then why did you answer?" Noah filled his cup. "Because the pipe did not need coffee." The tension softened around the counter. Noah topped off 2 other cups without being asked. Then he returned the pot to the warmer and went back to the kitchen. He had not embarrassed the man. He had not defended Lena loudly enough to turn the room against anyone. He had simply stepped into the moment and carried some of its weight. Evelyn thought of the hotel lobby, security on both sides of him, Grant speaking as though Noah's clothes were evidence. Noah had not raised his voice then either. Lena approached Evelyn's booth with the coffee pot. You planning to drink that or study it? Evelyn looked up. Sorry, do not apologize to coffee. It cannot forgive you. Lena filled the cup anyway. You are not from around here. No, business downtown. Something like that. Lena glanced at Evelyn's hands. No rings, clean nails, a watch simple enough to look modest until someone recognized the brand. You waiting for someone. Evelyn looked toward the kitchen door. I am not sure. Lena followed her gaze. Her expression changed by a fraction. Then she set the pot down. You know Noah we met last night at the clinic at the Hartwell Crown? Lena's eyes sharpened. You work there, I own it. For the first time, Lena had no immediate reply. She pulled out the chair opposite Evelyn and sat. You are Evelyn Hartwell. Yes, the wallet. Evelyn said nothing. Lena leaned back. He told me he found one. What else did he tell you that he returned it? Did he say what was inside? No. Did he tell you I followed him? Lena's face became still. No. Evelyn looked down at the table. He knew. Of course he knew. How? Because Noah notices when people are watching him. Lena lowered her voice. Men who lose everything learn to notice who is standing near the last thing they have left. Evelyn took the folded bills from her coat pocket. $100 bills. She placed them beneath the edge of her plate. I do not want him to know where it came from. Lena looked at the money, then at Evelyn. What is it for whatever he needs? That is not an answer. His daughter's medication. Does he know you heard about that? No. Then this is not help. Evelyn's fingers tightened around the coffee cup. What would you call it? Guilt with good manners. The words were quiet. They landed anyway. Lena stood. You want to do something for him, ask him what he needs. Do not hide money under a plate and make me carry your shame. Before Evelyn could answer, the kitchen door opened. Noah stepped out, holding a cracked section of pipe. You have been using drain cleaner again. Lena turned. I have no idea what you mean. This pipe looks like it survived a chemical war. You fixed it. I replaced the section. How much coffee? 2 cups. Done. He wiped his hands on the rag, then looked toward Evelyn's booth. Recognition settled over his face without surprise. His gaze dropped to the money beneath the plate. Lena lifted both hands. I did not agree to anything. Noah walked over. The diner seemed to quiet around him, though no one had stopped talking. He stood beside Evelyn's table. You forgot something. I did not forget it. Noah picked up the bills and placed them in front of her. I cannot take this. You do not even know why I left it. I know exactly why. Evelyn looked toward the other customers. Can we speak somewhere private? Noah glanced at Lena. She nodded toward the back hallway. There is an office past the kitchen. The door sticks. Noah waited for Evelyn to stand. The office was barely large enough for a desk, 2 chairs, and several boxes of paper napkins stacked against the wall. A small window looked into the alley. Rainwater dripped from the fire escape outside. Noah left the door partly open. Evelyn noticed. He did not want anyone to misunderstand why he was alone with her. She placed the money on the desk. It is not pity. Then do not make it look like pity. I was trying to help. You were trying not to feel bad. That is not fair. No. His voice remained calm. You followed me into a clinic. Then you followed me home. Now you are leaving money where I cannot refuse it without making a scene. Evelyn felt heat rise along her neck. You saw me at the clinic. Yes. Why did you not say anything? Noah looked through the small window. Because people who need proof are usually not ready to hear the truth. She had spent years across tables from investors, attorneys, politicians, and men who used silence to force the other person to speak first. Noah's silence felt different. It was not a weapon. It was a boundary. Evelyn picked up the money and folded it once. I owe you an apology. He looked back at her. I should not have followed you. No, I had your name, your phone number, security footage. I could have asked questions. Yes, I chose to watch you instead. Yes. The simplicity of his answers made the apology harder. Evelyn took a breath. I thought seeing where you went would tell me who you were. And did it? It showed me how little I knew. Noah studied her face. The tension in his shoulders eased, but only slightly. What do you want from me now? I do not know. That is honest. I am trying. I can see that. The words were not forgiveness, but they were not rejection either. Evelyn looked toward the kitchen. What would real help look like? Noah leaned against the desk. For me, for anyone in your position, my position, he repeated the phrase without anger. A tired smile touched one corner of his mouth. That is the problem. People with money look at someone struggling and decide the struggle is the whole person. I did not say that. You did not have to. Evelyn let the silence remain. Noah picked up the cracked piece of pipe he had carried into the office. You want to help start where the help does not put a spotlight on someone's worst day. What does that mean? It means do not make a father explain his daughter's lungs to earn your kindness. Evelyn lowered her eyes. It means do not hand him cash in a room full of strangers and expect gratitude to make everyone comfortable. I did not expect gratitude. You expected me to take it, yes, and if I had, I would have felt relieved. There it is. Evelyn looked at him. He was not cruel. That made the truth harder to resist. She placed the money back inside her coat. Coffee. Noah blinked. What, I owe you at least 1 cup. You already own a hotel full of coffee. I am starting to understand that does not mean I know how to drink it. He almost smiled. Lena's coffee is dangerous, I noticed. You still want another cup, yes? They returned to the diner. Lena said nothing when they sat at the counter, but she placed 2 fresh cups in front of them and moved away with the deliberate slowness of someone who intended to hear everything. Noah added sugar to his coffee. Evelyn watched him. I thought you drank it black. Why, you look like someone who drinks black coffee. What does that look like? Tired, stubborn, slightly offended by milk. Noah looked at her cap. You look like someone who believes a baseball cap makes her invisible. Evelyn touched the brim. Marcus said the same thing. Marcus is wise. You met him for 4 seconds. He did not follow me into the clinic. Evelyn winced. Noah's expression softened. That was not necessary. It was deserved. Lena returned with a plate of pancakes and placed it between them. We did not order these, Noah said. I did. When both of you started talking like people who forgot breakfast exists. She set down 2 forks. Peace treaty. Then she walked away. Evelyn cut 1 pancake in half. Noah looked at her. You always divide things that precisely, yes. Why? Because then both sides know what they are getting. That sounds less like breakfast and more like a contract. In my experience, breakfast is safer. Noah took the smaller half. Evelyn noticed. She pushed part of hers toward him. He pushed it back. They both looked at the plate. Then, unexpectedly, Noah laughed. It was not the careful smile he gave Sophie. It was low and real, and it changed his whole face. Evelyn felt herself smile in return. For several minutes they ate without speaking. The quiet was not uncomfortable. Outside, buses moved through wet streets. A delivery driver carried boxes beneath a plastic sheet. Lena argued with someone in the kitchen about onions. Noah looked at Evelyn's hands. You counted the money. This morning. All of it. Yes, why I needed to understand how much it was. You already knew. I knew the number. What is the difference? Evelyn turned the coffee cup slowly. A number stays on paper. An amount has weight. Noah looked toward the window. It has more weight when you need it, I know. No, you do not. The words came gently. Evelyn accepted them. You're right. Noah glanced at her. Perhaps surprised she had not argued. You said you were an engineer, she said. I said former. The newspaper disagrees. His eyes narrowed. You searched me. Yes, you apologize in an interesting way. I did not use company security. That is supposed to make it better, no. He set down his fork. Evelyn continued before he could leave. I found an article about the Monongahela flood repairs. You designed temporary bridge supports that reopened 2 rural roads. I worked on the design team. The article named you. Newspapers like names. It said your solution saved 6 weeks. It saved 4. You remember? I remember everything about that bridge. His gaze settled on the coffee. The river had shifted the South Pier. Everyone wanted to close the road until spring. There was a hospital on the other side, and the detour added 40 minutes. So you found another way. We found another way. You keep correcting the word I. Nothing important gets built by one person. The sentence stayed between them. Evelyn thought about Hartwell Tower, every floor named after her family, every success presented as the result of one surname. What happened to your license? Noah's jaw tightened. That was in the article too, not all of it. He looked toward the booth near the window where a nurse was folding a newspaper. My wife died 11 years ago. I am sorry. Rachel was driving Sophie home from a music class. A truck crossed the median. His voice did not change, but one hand closed around the coffee cup. Sophie survived. Her lungs were damaged by smoke and chemicals after the engine caught fire. The doctor said the long-term effects were unpredictable. Evelyn remained still. I took leave, then more leave. I missed deadlines. I stopped taking projects that required travel. Eventually, firms stopped calling. Could you renew your certification? Probably. Why have you not? Renewal costs money. Training costs money. Time costs money. Interviews happen during clinic appointments. He looked at her. People say they understand a gap in your resume until they have to trust you with something that matters. Evelyn thought of the recruiting software Hartwell used. Automated filters, employment gaps, expired credentials, thousands of applications removed before a human being saw them. How long have you been doing repair work? 6 years. Do you like it? I like fixing things. That is not what I asked. Noah looked toward the kitchen where Lena was opening and closing the cabinet beneath the repaired sink. I like finishing something and knowing it works. I like being able to leave when Sophie needs me. And the rest? The rest pays badly. Evelyn smiled faintly. At least you are honest. You have enough people lying to you. The question was casual. Something in it caught her attention. What makes you ask that you return to the diner in disguise because you did not want someone to know where you were? I did not say that. You did not have to. Evelyn looked toward the front window. Grant's messages waited unanswered on her phone. Some people in my company believe caution is the same as loyalty. And I am beginning to think caution can be trained to look wherever someone points. Noah watched her carefully. Does this have something to do with the flash drive? Evelyn turned toward him. What about it? It was inside your wallet. You noticed it? I saw it when I checked the identification. Did you touch it? No. Did you know what it contained? No. Grant seemed very concerned about it. Noah's expression remained calm, more concerned than he was about the cash. Evelyn felt a small shift inside her. In the hotel lobby, she had been watching Noah. She had not watched Grant watching the wallet. Her phone vibrated. Grant again. Need the drive before 9:30. Where are you? Call me immediately. Evelyn turned the phone face down. Noah noticed. You should answer that. I do not want to. That usually means you should. Do you always give advice to people who follow you, only when they buy pancakes? Lena approached with a folded paper in her hand. Noah, this was taped to your truck. He opened it. His expression changed. Evelyn could not read the page, but she saw the printed logo of a property management company. What is it? Lena asked. Nothing. Noah. He folded the notice. Mr. Carver wants the rent balance by Monday. How much? I have it handled. Lena planted one hand on the counter. How much? Noah looked toward the window. $1,400. I can help. No, you fix this place every month for coffee. And pancakes. This is not funny, I know. Evelyn said nothing. Every instinct told her to take out the money again. She kept her hands beneath the counter. Noah looked at her. He knew what she was thinking. I did not say anything. You were about to. What are you going to do? Work? That is not a plan. It has been my plan for years. Lena muttered something in Spanish and returned to the kitchen. Noah stood. I have another job across town. Evelyn looked at the notice in his hand. You cannot fix $1,400 by Monday with a leaking sink. No. But I can fix 6 leaking sinks, 2 freezers, and a furnace. And Sophie. Lena picks her up from school today. You cannot keep doing this. The words left Evelyn before she could stop them. Noah's eyes hardened. Doing what? Carrying everything alone. You met me 12 hours ago, I know. You followed me for half of them. I know that too. He picked up his toolbox. Evelyn lowered her voice. I am not trying to insult you. No, you are trying to solve me. That is not what I meant. It is what people like you do, people like you. The phrase stung more than Evelyn expected. Noah saw it. For a moment, regret crossed his face. Then the front bell rang. A man in a dark coat entered, glanced around, and took a booth near the door. He carried no umbrella despite the rain. A Hartwell security badge briefly showed beneath his coat before he covered it. Evelyn recognized him. Daniel Price from corporate security. He looked at Noah, then at Evelyn, and immediately lowered his gaze. Noah noticed. "Friend of yours, no." That answer came quickly. "He works for Hartwell." Noah set down the toolbox. "Did you send him?" "No." Daniel stood and approached. "Ms. Hartwell." Evelyn's voice turned cold. "Why are you here? Mr. Mercer asked us to confirm Mr. Bennett's contact information." For what purpose? Daniel glanced at Noah. "There are concerns about the handling of executive property." He returned the wallet. "Yes, ma'am. With everything inside, as far as we know." Evelyn stood, "As far as I know." Daniel shifted his weight. "Mr. Mercer has requested a digital access review related to the flash drive." Noah's face became still. Evelyn looked at Daniel. "Has anyone examined the hotel footage? Mr. Mercer said the footage is being preserved." "That was not my question." "No, ma'am." "Then no report is to be filed until I review it." Daniel nodded. "Yes, ma'am." He left the diner. Noah watched him cross the street. "You said you did not send him." "I did not, but someone did." "Yes, your company thinks I copied the drive." Evelyn faced him. "I do not." "You thought I stole the wallet last night." "I was wrong. That did not stop security from learning my name. I will handle it." Noah gave a tired laugh with no humor in it. "That sentence means something different when you have power. What does it mean to you? It means people make decisions in rooms I cannot enter." He lifted the toolbox. "I have to go." Evelyn stepped aside. "Noah," he stopped near the door. "I'm sorry." He looked back. For which part? She had no answer large enough to include all of it. Noah left. Through the window, Evelyn watched him place the toolbox in his truck. He stood beside the driver's door for a moment, reading the rent notice again. Then he folded it into a smaller square and tucked it inside his jacket. Lena came to stand beside Evelyn. "He does that. What?" "Folds bad news until it takes up less room." Evelyn watched the truck pull away. Her phone vibrated once more. "Grant, call me now." She answered. "Where are you?" he demanded. "At Harbor Street Diner." There was a brief silence. "With Bennett?" "Yes." "Evelyn, you need to leave." "Why?" "Because he may have accessed confidential material. You have no evidence." He opened the wallet. "To identify me. That is what he says. That is what the camera will show." Grant's voice softened, the tone he used when he wanted concern to sound like reason. "You are allowing his circumstances to affect your judgment. My judgment was affected before I knew his circumstances." "Exactly. He is manipulating you." "Noah did not ask me for anything. Men like him rarely ask directly." Evelyn looked across the diner at the repaired sink, the cracked vinyl booths, the plate divided neatly in half. "What do you mean by men like him?" Grant did not answer immediately. "Desperate men." Evelyn ended the call. Across town, Grant Mercer sat alone in his glass office on the 39th floor of Hartwell Tower. The city stretched beneath him in pale winter light. On his monitor, the hotel lobby footage showed Noah placing the wallet on the front desk. Grant replayed the moment. Noah's hands remained visible. The cash remained untouched. The flash drive remained inside. Grant paused the image on Noah's face. "You should have taken the money," he whispered. He opened a new internal report. Possible unauthorized access to executive financial material, suspicious handling of encrypted data, potential attempt to remove or copy confidential files. He added Noah Bennett's name, address, and phone number. Then he attached the altered chain of custody record. At Harbor Street Diner, Lena refilled Evelyn's cup. "You staying?" Evelyn looked at the cold coffee. "No. What are you going to do?" Evelyn picked up her coat. "For once, I am going to ask questions before I decide who deserves the answer." She stepped outside and called Marcus. By 3 that afternoon, Noah was behind Harbor Street Diner again, repairing the freezer motor, while Sophie sat at a corner table finishing a math worksheet. Lena had picked her up from school. Sophie held up the page. "Dad, what is 9 times 7, 63? You did not even think." "I used to calculate load distribution." "What is that harder than multiplication? So you are showing off, a little." The freezer hummed back to life. Lena clapped from the kitchen doorway. Sophie grinned. Noah bowed with the screwdriver as if he had completed a magic trick. For one small moment the room felt warm. Then the front bell rang. 2 police officers entered with Daniel Price behind them. The conversations in the diner faded one table at a time. The officer looked across the room. Noah Bennett placed the screwdriver on the counter. That is me. Sophie slid out of the booth before Lena could stop her. She crossed the diner and took hold of Noah's sleeve. The taller officer approached with careful steps. His name tag read Collins. The second officer remained near the door while Daniel Price stood behind them with both hands folded in front of his coat. Mr. Bennett, we need to ask you several questions about executive property you returned last night. I already gave the hotel my name and number. This concerns a flash drive inside the wallet. Noah looked at Daniel. I never touched it. Daniel avoided his eyes. Officer Collins opened a small notebook. Did you open the wallet? Yes. Why? To identify the owner. Did you remove anything? No. Did you connect the flash drive to a computer or another device? No. Did anyone else handle the wallet before you returned it? Not while it was with me. Officer Collins closed the notebook halfway. Mr. Bennett, Hartwell Security reported possible unauthorized access to confidential financial material. We are asking you to come downtown and provide a formal statement. Lena stepped between Daniel and the officers. He found that wallet and returned it. Ma'am, please step back. No. This man fixes half the things in this neighborhood for less than the parts cost. He does not steal. Daniel cleared his throat. Character references do not establish chain of custody. Noah's eyes moved to him. You were at the diner this morning. Daniel shifted. I was confirming contact information. You watched me leave. I was doing my job. Sophie tightened her grip on Noah's sleeve. Dad, are they arresting you? Noah turned away from the officers and crouched in front of her. No. They think you did something bad. They are asking questions. That means they think you did it. Her voice began to shake. Noah took both her hands. Look at me, Sparrow. She tried, but her eyes kept moving toward the officers. People can be wrong about us, he said. That does not make us what they say. What if everybody believes them? Then we do not become smaller while they figure out the truth. A tear slipped down her cheek. Are you coming back? Yes, promise. Noah hesitated only long enough to make the promise honest. I promise I will do everything I can to come back soon. Lena placed a hand on Sophie's shoulder. She stays with me. Noah stood. He removed his work gloves, folded them, and set them beside the screwdriver. Officer Collins opened the door. Noah walked past the tables without lowering his head. The phones followed him. Outside, cold air moved along Harbor Street. A black sedan turned the corner just as Noah reached the police car. Evelyn saw the officers first. Then she saw Noah. She opened her door before Marcus had fully stopped. What is happening? Officer Collins turned. Ms. Hartwell. Yes. We received a complaint from your corporate security department. I authorized no complaint. Daniel stepped forward. Mr. Mercer approved the escalation. Evelyn looked at him. Grant does not have authority to file a criminal complaint in my name. The report was filed on behalf of Hartwell Development. Noah stood beside the open rear door of the police car. Evelyn moved toward him. Noah, I did not know about this. He looked at her with a kind of exhaustion that anger could not reach. You said you would handle it. I am going to. That is what you said this morning. I never approved this. Your name opened the door. The words stopped her. Behind the diner window, Sophie stood with Lena. Her face was wet with tears. Evelyn looked toward the child. Noah followed her gaze. Do not ask her to understand your company. I would never. She just watched 2 officers walk in because someone in your building decided my life was convenient. Evelyn lowered her voice. I will get you out. Noah looked at the police car. Your world gets to make accusations. Mine has to survive them. Officer Collins touched the edge of the door. Mr. Bennett. Noah climbed inside. The car pulled away. Evelyn remained in the street until Marcus came to stand beside her. Through the diner window, Sophie looked directly at Evelyn. Evelyn entered slowly. Lena held Sophie close, but the girl stepped away from her. Where are they taking him? To answer questions. That is what he said. Evelyn crouched several feet away. I am going to bring him back. Sophie's face tightened. You already brought the police. The sentence struck harder than anything Grant had said in years. Evelyn stood. Lena's expression held no sympathy. Do not promise that child something unless you know exactly how you are going to keep it. Evelyn nodded once. Then she turned to Marcus. "Take me to the tower." The ride downtown passed in silence. Evelyn declined every call. At Hartwell Tower, employees moved aside as she crossed the lobby and entered the private elevator with Marcus. 3 security supervisors stood when she entered. Pull every camera angle from level 4 of the Hartwell Crown Garage between 10:30 and midnight. The youngest supervisor glanced at the others. "Ms. Hartwell, Mr. Mercer instructed us to route all access through him." Evelyn removed her coat. "Grant works for this company. He does not own its cameras." No one moved. She looked at the supervisor. Now. Keys began clicking. The main monitor filled with a pale blue image of the garage. Rainwater dripped from overhead pipes. Evelyn's town car sat near the elevator bank. The timestamp read 11:12. At 11:14, the stairwell door opened. Grant stepped into view. He wore the same navy coat from the hotel lobby. Evelyn moved closer to the screen. Grant looked toward the empty security booth. Then he removed the black wallet from inside his coat. He opened it. For several seconds, his hands moved near the inner pocket. Then he crouched beside the rear tire of Evelyn's car and placed the wallet on the concrete. Not dropped, placed. Marcus folded his arms. The room became very quiet. "Continue," Evelyn said. Grant returned to the stairwell. At 11:19, Noah's pickup entered the garage and parked near the service entrance. He stepped out carrying a tool bag and a coil of hose. The footage showed him entering the hotel service corridor. 20 minutes later, he returned, placed the tools in his truck, and noticed the wallet near Evelyn's car. He stopped. He looked around. Then he picked it up. The camera angle did not show the inside clearly, so Evelyn ordered the elevator footage. Noah stood alone beneath white lights. He opened the wallet, read the identification card, and closed it again. The cash remained untouched. The flash drive remained inside. He held the wallet openly with both hands. Evelyn stared at the screen. He told the truth. No one answered. Marcus looked toward the access log displayed on the second monitor. "Show us who entered Ms. Hartwell's office before the hotel dinner." The supervisor searched the records. Grant's executive card appeared at 8:43. Evelyn had been downstairs greeting board members. Pull the office corridor footage. Grant entered Evelyn's office carrying nothing. 7 minutes later, he emerged with one hand inside his coat. Evelyn took the wallet from her handbag and placed it on the desk. Was the drive logged into company custody? The supervisor searched. No, ma'am. Was it assigned to Grant nor Marcus pointed toward another entry? The executive archive was accessed from his office at 8:17. Evelyn turned. What files? The supervisor hesitated. Foundation disbursement records, vendor approvals, medical assistance accounts. Evelyn felt the room sharpen around her. Copy every log to an independent server. No one from finance gets access. Her phone rang again. "Grant," she answered. "Where are you?" he asked. "In security." Silence. Then his voice softened. "Evelyn, do not do anything until I get there. Why did you place my wallet beside my car?" "It was a controlled test, authorized by whom I made a judgment call. With $40,000, we needed to measure exposure. You put an unregistered flash drive inside it." Another silence. "Do not open that drive." Evelyn looked at Marcus. "Why, it contains sensitive projections. Then why was it left on a garage floor?" Grant exhaled. "I am coming down." The call ended. Evelyn turned to the supervisor. "Lock his access to this floor. Ma'am, he is the chief financial officer, not to this room." Marcus contacted an outside forensic accountant who had worked with Hartwell during a previous acquisition. The woman arrived through a private entrance 40 minutes later with 2 sealed laptops and a hardware isolation device. She examined the drive without connecting it to the corporate network. Folders appeared across the monitor. Vendor payments, emergency grants, foundation reserves. The first spreadsheet showed transfers from the Hartwell Children's Relief Foundation to consulting firms Evelyn did not recognize. The firms had clean names and empty histories. North Star Community Strategies, Blue Ridge Pediatric Logistics, Mercer Advisory Holdings. The accountant opened the registration records. 2 companies led to mailboxes in Delaware. One shared an address with Grant's private investment attorney. Evelyn gripped the edge of the desk. "How much?" "We need time to trace everything. Give me what you can see." The accountant moved through the records. At least $6.8 million over 3 years. Marcus looked toward Evelyn. She did not move. The next folder contained approval delays. Hundreds of pediatric cases had been marked pending while money was transferred out of the fund. Clinic names filled the screen. Mercy Ridge Children's Clinic appeared 19 times. Evelyn searched the patient reference list. Bennett Sophie. The application had been submitted twice. Both times finance had placed it under administrative review. The accountant opened messages instructing staff to delay emergency requests and redirect the money through approved consulting vendors. Sophie's medication had not been delayed because the foundation lacked money. The money had been removed. Marcus spoke quietly. We need law enforcement and outside counsel. Evelyn stared at Sophie's case number. We also need Noah released. At the central precinct, Noah sat beneath fluorescent lights in a small interview room. Officer Collins placed a cup of water in front of him. The company is withdrawing the complaint. Noah did not touch the cup. Why? They confirmed the camera footage. You watched it. Yes. And you picked up the wallet and returned it. I told you that. Officer Collins closed the file. I know. Noah looked through the glass panel in the door. Can I go? We need your signature on the statement. Noah signed. When he entered the lobby, Evelyn was waiting near the exit. She had removed the baseball cap. Her hair was tied back. For the first time since he had met her, she looked less like a chief executive and more like someone who had run out of places to hide. Noah stopped several feet away. Where is Sophie with Lena? Is she all right? She is frightened. He looked toward the door. Evelyn stepped into his path but left enough space for him to pass. Grant planted the wallet. Noah's eyes returned to her. We found the footage. He placed it beside my car. He copied company files onto the drive before the dinner. Why? He was preparing to report the drive stolen if an audit reached the foundation accounts. When you returned it, he used you as the explanation. Noah's face remained still. What foundation accounts? Evelyn struggled to say it. The Hartwell Children's Relief Foundation. He understood before she continued. Sophie's clinic. Yes. Her application. It was delayed through Grant's department. Noah looked away. How many children we do not know yet. More than Sophie. Yes. He pressed his thumb against the cut on his knuckle. Evelyn spoke carefully. I'm sorry. Noah gave a tired shake of his head. For Grant, for following you, for doubting you, for allowing a system with my name on it to treat suspicion as proof. You did not know he filed the report. No, but I created a company where he believed he could. Noah looked at her. The anger in his face did not disappear. Something else joined it. Attention. Evelyn continued. I watched you because I thought seeing your private life would tell me whether you deserved trust. I let fear become evidence. Does saying that erase what Sophie saw? No. Does it erase the people recording me? No. Can you clear my name? I can correct the record. I know that is not the same thing. Noah studied her for a long moment. Why are you telling me this? Because an apology that protects the person giving it is not an apology. His jaw tightened. Then he looked toward the street again. What happens to the families? We trace the money. We restore every eligible case. We notify the clinics. We bring in outside investigators. And Sophie, her application will be reviewed immediately. No special treatment. Evelyn nodded. No special treatment. No press release. There will be none. No picture of her holding a check. I would never ask. Your communications people will. Then they will hear no. Noah took a slow breath. What do you need from me? Evelyn had not expected the question. There is an emergency board meeting tonight. Grant will claim you copied the drive. The footage proves otherwise, but your statement establishes what happened after you found the wallet. You want me in a boardroom. I want them to see the person they were willing to destroy. I am not going there to be your symbol. No. I am not proof that your company cares. No. He stepped closer. If anyone says my daughter's name to protect your stock price, I leave. Evelyn held his gaze. Then I leave with you. The answer settled between them. Noah looked toward the precinct entrance where Officer Collins stood watching. Take me to Sophie first. Evelyn nodded. At Harbor Street Diner, Sophie ran into Noah's arms before the door had closed. I knew you would come back, she whispered. I told you. Over his shoulder, Sophie saw Evelyn near the entrance. Her arms tightened around her father. Noah set her down. Ms. Hartwell found out what happened. Sophie looked at Evelyn. Did she tell the police they were wrong? Yes, Noah said. Sophie considered this. Were you wrong too? Evelyn did not look at Noah for help. Yes. Sophie held the stuffed fox beneath one arm. About my dad. Yes. The girl nodded once, not forgiving her, not refusing to. Noah left Sophie with Lena for one more hour. Outside, Marcus opened the sedan door. Noah stopped beside Evelyn. You still have the wallet? She showed him the black leather case inside her bag. It stays with me until the board sees it. Noah looked at it, then at her. Funny thing about evidence. What it does not change. People do. They climbed into the car. Hartwell Tower waited beyond the river, its upper floors burning against the winter sky. At the executive garage, the exit gate lowered with a heavy mechanical sound. Grant stood near his car with a phone pressed to his ear. Delete every duplicate, he said. Shut down the vendor accounts. Marcus lifted his phone and recorded. Grant turned. He saw Evelyn step from the sedan. Then he saw Noah beside her. The color left his face. Evelyn closed the car door and walked toward him. Noah moved at her side, not behind her. Grant stood beside his car with the phone still pressed to his ear. For 1 second, no one moved. The executive garage hummed with the low mechanical sound of ventilation fans. White lights reflected across the polished concrete. At the far end of the lane, the security gate remained lowered. Grant looked from Evelyn to Noah, then toward Marcus. His expression recovered quickly. Evelyn, he said, you should not be down here. She continued walking. Who were you speaking to, Legal? Marcus held up his phone. Legal was instructed to delete duplicate files. Grant's eyes fixed on the screen. You recorded a private conversation. You held it in a company garage while attempting to leave during an active investigation. Grant slipped his phone into his coat. This is becoming absurd. Noah stopped several feet away. Grant looked at him as though seeing a stain on the floor. You. Noah said nothing. Grant stepped toward the driver's side door. Evelyn's voice stopped him. Do not touch the car. He turned slowly. You have no authority to detain me. I have authority over this property. Law enforcement is already on the way. Grant laughed once. It was a small, brittle sound. Based on what a misunderstood security exercise and a contractor with a tragic story, Noah's jaw tightened, but he remained still. Evelyn moved closer. You planted my wallet. I tested a vulnerability. You copied foundation records onto an unregistered drive. For the board review, you instructed someone to delete files to prevent unauthorized distribution. Marcus glanced toward the elevator entrance. 2 uniformed officers appeared beside the security supervisor. Grant saw them and straightened his coat. His voice became calm again. Good. Perhaps someone in this building is still willing to follow procedure. Officer Collins approached. Mr. Mercer, we need you to remain on site while several questions are addressed. Grant looked at Evelyn. You called the same officer who dragged him out of a diner. Officer Collins did not react. Evelyn did. He came because the facts changed. Grant pointed toward Noah. No, her feelings changed. Noah finally spoke. You keep saying that because feelings are easier to attack than evidence. Grant's eyes narrowed. Stay out of this. You put my name in it. Officer Collins stepped between them. Mr. Mercer, do you have a company-issued phone and laptop with you? Grant looked toward his car. My laptop is inside. Please retrieve it without entering the vehicle. Grant did not move. The officer's tone remained level. Now. Grant opened the rear door and removed a leather case. Another officer took it. Grant watched his laptop leave his hands. For the first time, the certainty in his face disappeared. Evelyn turned toward the private elevator. The board is waiting. Grant gave her a cold smile. You think showing them a few spreadsheets will save you? I am not asking to be saved. The elevator doors opened. Evelyn entered with Noah and Marcus. Grant followed beside Officer Collins. As the elevator climbed, no one spoke. The numbers above the door changed 1 floor at a time. Noah stood near the rear wall, hands loose at his sides. His shirt still carried a faint line of grease near the cuff. Evelyn noticed that he had not changed after leaving the police station. The board members upstairs would notice too. She wondered how many of them would see the stain before they saw the man. The doors opened on the 41st floor. A legal assistant waited in the hall. Ms. Hartwell, the board has been assembled. Outside counsel joined by video. Communications is requesting a statement before the markets close. There will be no statement yet. They are concerned about rumors. They should be concerned about facts. The assistant looked toward Noah. Is he attending? Yes? Grant stepped out behind them. This man has no right to enter a confidential board session. Evelyn continued toward the conference room. He has more right than the man who tried to frame him. The double doors opened. 12 board members sat around the long walnut table. Tablets glowed beside untouched coffee. Through the glass walls, downtown Pittsburgh stretched beneath a pale winter sky. Conversation stopped when Evelyn entered. It stopped again when Noah followed her. Several eyes moved to his jacket, his boots, and the small cut across his knuckle. Grant entered last. He walked to his usual seat near the head of the table. Evelyn remained standing. Do not sit there. Grant looked at the chair. I am still Chief Financial Officer for the next few minutes. A murmur moved through the room. Margaret Sloan, the board's lead independent director, removed her glasses. Evelyn, perhaps you should begin by explaining why police officers are outside. Grant answered before she could. Because Ms. Hartwell has allowed a personal involvement to interfere with company security. Evelyn placed the black wallet in the center of the table. The sound of leather against polished wood seemed louder than it should have. This meeting concerns the Hartwell Children's Relief Foundation, the handling of confidential financial records, and an attempt to accuse an innocent man of theft. Grant opened his hands. Then we should begin with the innocent man. His voice was calm and practiced. Mr. Bennett was found in possession of executive property containing $40,000 and encrypted company data. He admits opening the wallet. We have no independent record of what he did before returning it. Noah stood near the wall. Grant turned toward him. A widowed contractor facing medical bills and eviction discovers a large amount of cash. He opens a wallet containing confidential material. Hours later, the chief executive officer follows him home, becomes emotionally involved in his situation, and suddenly dismisses every reasonable concern. One board member shifted uncomfortably. Grant continued. No one is questioning the difficulty of Mr. Bennett's life, but desperation creates risk. Sympathy does not eliminate it. Noah's expression did not change. Evelyn looked around the table. Are you finished? Grant gave a small smile. I'm establishing context. You are establishing the lie you prepared. She nodded to the wall screen. Play the garage footage. The lights dimmed. The hotel parking garage appeared in cold blue color. Grant entered from the stairwell. Several board members leaned forward. On the screen, he looked toward the empty security booth, removed Evelyn's wallet, and placed it beside the rear tire of her town car. Margaret Sloan turned toward him. What are we watching? Grant did not look away from the screen. A vulnerability assessment. Where is the authorization? It was conducted under my risk management authority. You are Chief Financial Officer, Margaret said. You do not conduct physical security tests. Grant ignored her. The footage continued. Noah's pickup entered the garage. He returned from the service corridor carrying tools, saw the wallet, and waited near the empty booth. The view changed to the elevator. Noah opened the wallet, once checked the identification, and closed it. His hands remained visible. The cash stayed in place. The drive remained in the inner pocket. Evelyn paused the recording. This is the entire period between Mr. Bennett finding the wallet and entering the hotel lobby. Grant leaned back. It proves he carried the wallet into an elevator. It proves he did not remove the drive. You cannot know what occurred before he reached the camera. Marcus spoke from beside the screen. The garage footage begins before he entered the level. His truck remained visible. He had no contact with another person or device. Grant looked toward the board. Video quality is limited. We cannot assume there was no attempt to access the contents. Evelyn touched the wallet. You placed $40,000 inside. Grant's eyes moved to her. It was already there. No, my assistant confirmed that the cash was not in my wallet when I left the office. The room became still. Evelyn continued. The hotel dinner included a private property acquisition. Grant knew I was carrying identification and executive cards. He also knew that an internal review of the Children's Foundation was scheduled for this morning. Margaret looked toward the legal counsel. Was the cash company money? The counsel shook his head. We are still tracing the source. Grant's jaw tightened. Evelyn nodded toward Marcus. Open the access logs. A second file appeared. Grant's executive card had entered Evelyn's office at 8:43 the previous evening. Then the company archive records appeared. Foundation disbursements, vendor approvals, emergency medical requests. Grant spoke quickly. I accessed those files to prepare the board report. Evelyn faced him. You copied them to a private drive that was never entered into company custody. That is an administrative oversight. You placed the drive inside my wallet and left it in a garage. A controlled exercise. You filed a report claiming Noah copied it. A necessary investigation. You sent police to question him before anyone checked the footage. Grant finally raised his voice. Because waiting could have exposed the company to a catastrophic breach. Noah looked at him. You knew the camera would clear me. Grant turned. I knew nothing about you. You knew enough to use my address, my bills, and my daughter's illness. The board members looked toward Grant. He gave a dismissive shake of his head. Mr. Bennett's personal circumstances were included because they established motive. Noah stepped closer to the table. My daughter's lungs established motive. That is not what I said. You said desperation creates risk. Grant met his gaze. It does. Noah placed a folded clinic notice beside the wallet. This is the medication request your department delayed. The paper looked small on the enormous table. Grant glanced at it. That case has no relevance to the data breach. It has everything to do with the files on that drive. Evelyn nodded to the forensic accountant seated near the screen. The next document opened. A list of transfers filled the wall. Millions of dollars moved from the Hartwell Children's Relief Foundation into consulting companies with no employees, no operating history, and no visible services. The accountant spoke clearly. We identified at least $6.8 million in suspicious disbursements over 3 years. The funds moved through shell vendors connected to an attorney who represents Mr. Mercer's private holdings. Grant stared at the screen. These are legitimate contractors. Then where are their work products? They advised on regional program expansion. Where are the reports you have not completed your review? No, the accountant said. But we completed enough to determine that several invoices were generated after the payments had already been approved. The next folder opened. Internal messages appeared. Delay pediatric grant disbursement. Move reserve allocation to consulting. Mark urgent applications as pending. Do not release until revised budget. Each instruction carried Grant's approval. No one around the table moved. The accountant opened another list. Hundreds of case numbers. Some had been delayed for weeks, others for months. Evelyn searched the screen and selected one file. Sophie Bennett's application appeared. The clinic had submitted 2 urgent requests. Both were delayed by finance. Noah looked at the page without blinking. Grant spoke from the far end of the table. You are presenting incomplete records to create an emotional spectacle. Noah turned toward him. My daughter could not breathe. Grant's face remained rigid. I did not review individual cases. You took the money from the people who did. The fund remained operational. Not for her. Grant looked toward the board. This is precisely why he should not be in this room. He is too personally involved. Noah placed both hands on the back of an empty chair. You never met any of these children. Grant said nothing. You never saw the clinics tell their parents to wait. You never watched a father count $600 against a medicine bill 5 times larger. Grant's mouth tightened. You are trying to manipulate the board with suffering. No. Noah's voice remained quiet. You used their suffering because you thought no one important would feel it. The room went silent. Evelyn watched Margaret lower her eyes toward Sophie's application. Another board member removed his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Grant looked around the table. These transfers were part of a liquidity strategy. Funds moved between approved accounts to protect the foundation during a volatile quarter. The forensic accountant opened the ownership records. 3 recipient companies transferred money into accounts controlled by Mr. Mercer within 48 hours. Grant's face hardened. You have no proof I authorized those transfers. Marcus connected his phone to the sound system. Grant's recorded voice filled the boardroom. Delete every duplicate. Shut down the vendor accounts. Do it now. The recording ended. No one spoke. Grant looked toward Evelyn. You recorded me without consent. I was standing 20 feet away, Marcus said. in a company garage. Grant's composure finally cracked. He pointed toward Evelyn. "You are destroying this company because you are ashamed of following a stranger home." Evelyn held his gaze. "No, I am exposing what happened because shame is not an excuse to hide the truth." He laughed harshly. "You think they will keep you after this?" Evelyn looked around the table. "I do not know." Several board members shifted. She continued, "This fraud occurred under my leadership. I approved the reporting structure that allowed finance to control emergency grants. I accepted summaries without demanding independent verification. I trusted Grant's judgment because it made difficult information easier to ignore." Grant's eyes narrowed. Evelyn placed both palms on the table. "I am requesting an independent investigation into the foundation company security and my own conduct. If that investigation finds that my negligence enabled these thefts, I will accept whatever action this board determines." Margaret studied her. "Are you offering your resignation? I am refusing to protect my position before we protect the families." The legal counsel leaned toward Margaret. "We need immediate preservation orders, notification to federal investigators, and suspension of all related vendor payments." A board member near the window spoke. "We also need to control the public response. If this reaches the market without context, the damage could be severe." Evelyn looked at him. "Children were denied medical support while money moved into private accounts. I understand that. No. You understand the share price." He leaned back. "We have obligations to thousands of employees and investors, and we have obligations to the families whose names are in those files." The communications director cleared her throat. "We can prepare a statement focused on decisive leadership. Mr. Bennett and his daughter could help establish the human dimension." Noah's hands left the chair. "No." The director looked at him. "We would not disclose anything without permission. You are already planning how to use her. That is not fair. No photographs, no interviews, no video of my daughter receiving medicine." The director turned toward Evelyn. "A carefully managed story could reduce speculation and demonstrate accountability." Evelyn did not hesitate. "Sophie Bennett will not appear in any company statement." The director started to respond. "No family will be asked to perform gratitude for assistance they should have received in the first place." Noah looked at Evelyn. Something in his face changed. Not trust, not yet, but the beginning of it. Margaret closed the folder in front of her. "I move that Grant Mercer be terminated for cause, effective immediately pending criminal investigation and recovery proceedings." The motion received a second. Grant stood. "You cannot do this based on a rushed presentation." The vote passed, 11 in favor, 1 abstention. Grant looked toward the member who had abstained, but even that man would not meet his eyes. Margaret spoke. "Mr. Mercer, your employment is terminated. You will surrender all company property and cooperate with investigators." Grant remained standing at the far end of the table. He looked smaller now, though nothing about the room had changed. "You will regret this," he said to Evelyn. She closed the wallet. "I already regret what I allowed." The boardroom doors opened. Officer Collins entered with another officer. Grant gathered his phone from the table. His hands shook once before he forced them still. As he passed Noah, he stopped. "You think this makes you important?" Noah looked at him. "No." Grant waited. Noah continued. "It only proves you were wrong about who was small." Grant walked out between the officers. The doors closed behind him. For several seconds, the boardroom held only the sound of the ventilation system and distant traffic below. Margaret turned toward Noah. "Mr. Bennett, on behalf of the board, I apologize." Noah looked at the people seated around the table. "I appreciate that. We will issue a written correction regarding the allegations. Send it to the diner." Margaret blinked. "The diner? That is where people watched police take me away. Correct it where the damage happened." She nodded. "We will, and contact every family in those files before you call a reporter." The legal counsel made a note. Noah looked toward Sophie's application, still displayed on the screen. "Do not make my daughter first because I'm standing here," Evelyn answered. "She will be reviewed by the same independent medical panel as every urgent case. Today." He nodded once. The board meeting continued for another hour. Accounts were frozen. Investigators were contacted. Emergency funds were placed under temporary medical oversight. The board approved independent review of every delayed application. Noah remained until the procedures were recorded in writing. He did not ask for compensation. He did not ask for a job. He asked how parents would be contacted, who would answer clinic calls, and whether families denied in previous months would receive reimbursement. When the final vote ended, the board members left one by one. Some shook Noah's hand. Others apologized without knowing where to look. At last, only Evelyn, Noah, and Marcus remained. Snow had begun falling beyond the glass. Noah stood near the window. Evelyn approached but stopped beside an empty chair. "I do not know how to repair what my company did to you." Noah looked across the city. "You do not repair people. What do? You stop adding weight." Evelyn nodded, and after that, he turned toward her. "You stand close enough that they do not have to carry everything alone." Her voice softened. "Would you let me do that?" Noah looked at the wallet in her hand, then at her face. "You cannot solve my life with money. I know. You cannot make Sophie forget today. I know. You cannot promise that trusting you will not hurt." Evelyn felt her breath catch. "No." Noah held out his hand, not as forgiveness, not as surrender, as a choice to begin from the truth. Evelyn placed her hand in his. His palm was rough and warm. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Noah said, "The clinic is reviewing Sophie's medication this afternoon. I heard. I told her I would be there. You should go." He did not release her hand. "I want you to come." Evelyn searched his face. As the chief executive officer, no. As the woman with the wallet, a small smile touched his mouth. As the woman who said she would stay. Evelyn closed her fingers around his. "All right." They left the boardroom together. This time when the elevator doors opened, Noah did not stand behind her. He stood at her side. The elevator descended in silence. Noah stood beside Evelyn with one hand still around hers. Neither of them mentioned it. The mirrored walls reflected two people who looked as though they had arrived from different worlds and somehow stepped into the same frame. Evelyn wore the same tailored coat she had entered the hotel in the night before. Noah still had grease near his cuff and a crease across his shirt from the police station chair. Marcus watched the floor numbers change above the door. When they reached the lobby, Noah released Evelyn's hand. The absence of his touch felt immediate. A group of employees stood near the security desk. Conversation stopped as Evelyn crossed the marble floor. Several people looked at Noah, recognition passing from face to face. He noticed. His shoulders tightened. Evelyn slowed. "We can use the private exit." "No." He kept walking. "I entered through the front when they thought I was a thief. I can leave through the front after they learned I was not." Evelyn looked at him. Then she matched his pace. Outside, snow softened the edges of the city. Marcus brought the sedan around, but Noah stopped beside the curb. "My truck is still at the diner. I can have it brought to the clinic. I can pick it up. The review is already happening." He glanced at her. "You really do not know how to ask someone to ride with you." Evelyn looked toward the open car door. "Would you ride with me to the clinic?" Noah considered the question with unnecessary seriousness. "Yes." Marcus hid a smile as he held the door. During the drive, Noah sat beside Evelyn in the back seat. The city passed outside in gray buildings and white streets. People hurried beneath umbrellas. Store windows glowed with Christmas displays. At an intersection, a father carried a sleeping child across the street beneath his coat. Noah watched until they disappeared. Evelyn folded her hands in her lap. "What did the doctor say this morning? That the medication could reduce the inflammation if she responds well, and if she does not, they adjust the treatment." His tone remained steady, but his right thumb moved against the side of his index finger. Evelyn had seen the same motion in the police station. She wanted to tell him Sophie would be all right. She did not. Marcus turned toward the clinic entrance. Noah spoke without looking at Evelyn. "You are learning. What not to make promises you cannot control." She looked at his hand. "I am trying. I know." Mercy Ridge. Children's Clinic looked different in daylight. The low brick building seemed smaller than Evelyn remembered. Salt had been scattered across the steps. A paper wreath hung crookedly inside the glass doors. Lena waited in the lobby with Sophie. The moment Sophie saw Noah, she ran to him. He caught her and lifted her from the floor. "You came back twice," she said. "I am showing off." She touched his face. "Did the police say sorry one of them did? Did the other one?" He looked like he wanted to. That does not count. No, it does not. Sophie saw Evelyn standing behind him. Her expression became cautious. Evelyn did not move closer. Lena rose from the chair and folded her arms. You got him out. The evidence did. Lena studied her, then nodded toward Sophie. The clinic called 10 minutes ago. The review panel approved the medication. Noah went still. Approved for an initial 3-month course. He lowered Sophie to the floor. Who reviewed it? Lena looked toward Evelyn. An outside physician and 2 clinic administrators. Same panel for every emergency request. Noah turned to Evelyn. You did not move her ahead, no. How many other cases, 27 urgent applications, are being reviewed today? His eyes remained on hers. Today, yes. Some of the pressure left his face. Not all of it. Enough! A nurse opened the hallway door. Mr. Bennett Noah took Sophie's hand. The nurse looked at Evelyn. Family only, please. Noah glanced back. She is with us. The words surprised Evelyn. They surprised him, too. He did not take them back. The examination room contained a narrow bed, 2 plastic chairs, and a paper mural of animals floating through space. Sophie sat on the table while a respiratory specialist explained the new medication. Noah listened with a folded sheet of paper on his knee. He wrote down every instruction. He asked about side effects, warning signs, and the exact time between doses. Sophie swung her feet beneath the table. Does it taste bad? The doctor smiled. It is not candy. That means yes. It may taste a little strange. Sophie looked at Noah. Can I have hot chocolate after if the doctor says? The doctor nodded. Hot chocolate is medically acceptable. Sophie looked satisfied. A pharmacist brought in the sealed medication. Noah stared at the box. For a moment he did not reach for it. Evelyn saw his throat move. The pharmacist placed it gently into his hands. Your cost is covered through the Restored Emergency Fund. Noah looked at the label with Sophie's name printed across the front. He had held $40,000 without trembling. Now his fingers shook. Sophie leaned toward him. Dad. He blinked and smiled. I am all right. You look weird. I always look weird. More weird. He sat beside her and pressed the box against his knee. Evelyn moved toward the door, giving them space. Sophie noticed. Are you leaving? I thought you might want time with your dad. Sophie considered this. Then she lifted the stuffed fox from her lap. He needs a checkup, too. Evelyn looked at the toy. What is wrong with him? He worries. That sounds serious. It is. Sophie handed her the fox. Evelyn accepted it carefully. Noah watched her hold the toy as though it were a fragile piece of evidence. A laugh escaped him. Evelyn looked over. What? You run a company with 20,000 employees, closer to 18,000, and a stuffed fox makes you nervous. I do not know the proper procedure. Sophie pointed to the chair. You hold him and tell him he is brave. Evelyn sat. She placed the fox on her lap and lowered her voice. You are very brave. Sophie frowned. You have to mean it. Evelyn looked at the worn fabric, the loose stitching near one ear, and the place where Sophie's fingers had rubbed the fur thin. She tried again. You are very brave. You do not have to pretend you are not scared. Sophie watched her. That was better. Noah's expression softened. For several minutes the room became ordinary. A child received medicine. A father read instructions twice. A woman who had spent her life directing rooms learned how to hold a toy properly. When they left the clinic, Noah carried the medication inside his jacket. Lena walked Sophie toward the diner while Noah remained beneath the entrance awning with Evelyn. Snow had begun gathering on the shoulders of her coat. I do not know what to say, he told her. You do not owe me anything. I know. That sounded convincing. He looked at the parking lot. I spent months asking why the application never moved. Every time I called, someone said the fund was reviewing it. Evelyn stood beside him. I signed the reports that told the board the foundation was healthy. You did not read the individual cases. No. Grant made sure of that. I made sure of that. Noah turned toward her. You did not steal the money. I accepted a system that kept suffering far enough away to remain numbers. He looked through the glass doors at a mother carrying a sleeping toddler toward the billing desk. What happens now? Independent medical reviewers will handle urgent requests. Finance will no longer control eligibility. Every delayed family will be contacted. The audit begins tonight. And the money. We freeze what can be frozen. Investigators trace what moved. Hartwell replaces the emergency reserve immediately. From company funds. Yes, the board agreed they did after I told them I would authorize it under executive emergency powers. A faint smile appeared. That sounds like you. What does that mean you asked permission after deciding? I asked this morning. You ignored the answer. It was the wrong answer. Noah laughed softly. Then the laughter faded. What about your job? The board placed me under independent review. You could lose it. Yes. Are you afraid Evelyn looked toward the street? A little. Noah's gaze remained on her. Then we are afraid together. The words reached back into the clinic hallway from the night before. Evelyn looked at him. He did not smile. He simply let the sentence exist between them. Marcus pulled the sedan forward. Noah touched the medication beneath his coat. I need to get Sophie home. I can take you. Would you? The question was simple. So was her answer. Yes. 3 days later, the first public notice appeared on Hartwell Development's website. It contained no photographs, no heroic language, no mention of Noah or Sophie. The statement confirmed that an independent investigation had begun into the misuse of funds intended for pediatric medical assistance. It listed a telephone number for affected families, explained the review process, and provided the name of the outside firm overseeing the investigation. At Harbor Street Diner, Lena printed the statement and taped it beside the register. Beneath it, she placed the written correction from Hartwell Security. Noah Bennett had returned all executive property intact. No evidence connected him to theft, unauthorized access, or data misuse. The correction was signed by the security director and the chair of the board. Lena taped a second copy to the front window. Noah stood beside her with a cup of coffee. One is enough. No. Why not people saw police take you through this door? They do not need paperwork with breakfast. They watch the accusation with breakfast. They can read the truth with lunch. Noah looked toward the tables. Several customers had already noticed. A man who had recorded the police encounter approached the counter. Hey! Noah waited. The man put his phone away. I deleted the video. You did not have to. I should not have filmed it. Noah nodded. The man looked uncomfortable. I am sorry, thank you. There was no grand reconciliation. The man returned to his booth. Lena poured more coffee. That is one. What one person, learning manners. Noah smiled. Near the window, Sophie colored a bridge with purple towers and gold water beneath it. The inhaler sat unused beside her backpack. Evelyn entered wearing a dark wool coat and carrying no briefcase. The bell above the door rang. Sophie looked up first. The wallet lady. Several customers turned. Evelyn stopped. Noah covered his mouth with his hand. Lena leaned against the register. That name is going to follow you. Evelyn approached Sophie's table. I was hoping for something more impressive. Sophie considered this. Wallet CEO worse. Miss Evelyn. That works. Sophie returned to her drawing. Evelyn looked at Noah. Do you have a minute? He nodded toward the counter. Coffee. I am becoming afraid of it. That means you are getting used to it. They sat together. Evelyn placed a folder between them. Noah looked at it, but did not touch it. What is this, the winter housing program? His expression cooled. If this is about my rent, it is about your building. He opened the folder. The program had been created years earlier to prevent winter evictions from properties connected to Hartwell redevelopment zones. Grants Department had suspended funding without board approval. Evelyn had restored it under independent administration. Every qualifying family in Noah's building had received a 90-day protection period and access to emergency rental support. No names were singled out. No private payments had been made. Noah read the page twice. Everyone who qualifies. Mr. Carver agreed. His management company agreed after legal reminded him about the city housing requirements attached to his renovation tax credits. Noah looked at her. That sounds less like charity. It involved more paperwork, so it must be legitimate. Evelyn smiled. The relief on his face came slowly. It did not look like victory. It looked like a man allowing himself to stop calculating one danger. You listened, he said. I am learning. Sophie held up her drawing. Dad, does this bridge look safe? Noah turned. The center span needs support. It is made of crayons. Crayons still obey physics. Evelyn looked at the drawing. What if the purple tower carries the center Noah considered it? That could work. Sophie added another line. Evelyn watched Noah lean over the page explaining weight distribution with 2 sugar packets and a spoon. The diner disappeared from his face. For a few minutes he became the engineer in the old photograph. She remembered the folder in her bag. There is something else. Noah sat back. That sentence is dangerous. A firm named Keller & Brooks is reviewing Hartwell's community infrastructure projects. I know them. They know you. His expression changed. Evelyn placed another envelope on the counter. They found your flood bridge work during the review. They would like you to interview for a consulting position on the Mercy Ridge pedestrian bridge restoration. Noah did not open the envelope. Did you ask them to hire me? No. Did you tell them about the wallet? No. What did you tell them that your previous work should be reviewed by someone qualified to judge it? Did you tell them I am Sophie's father? No. Did you tell them you know me? Yes. His eyes narrowed. I also told them I would remove myself from every decision connected to your application. Noah looked at the envelope. Why? Because I wanted them to see the work before they saw the gap in your resume. That is still helping. Yes. You said you would stop trying to solve me. I did not solve anything. She pushed the envelope closer. I opened a door that should not have been closed by a computer. Noah placed his hand over it. For a moment he did not speak. What if I am not that man anymore? The interview is not a promise. That is not what I asked. Evelyn looked at him. The man who designed those supports is still here. I watched him explain bridges with sugar packets. That is not a professional assessment. It was a very strong spoon. He laughed. Sophie looked toward them. What is funny, Miss Evelyn, is trying to be an engineer. Sophie shook her head. She holds the fox wrong. Evelyn leaned closer to Noah. My qualifications are expanding. He opened the envelope. The interview was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Noah read the details. Then he folded the letter along its original crease. I will go. Evelyn felt something warm move through her chest. I am glad. I did not say I would get it. No, I might fail. Yes, you agree too quickly. You asked me not to make promises. Noah looked at her. Coffee really is changing you. The interview lasted 2 hours. Noah arrived in a suit he had not worn since Rachel's funeral. The shoulders fit, but the sleeves were slightly short. Lena fixed the loose button near his collar while Sophie circled him with solemn approval. You look like a lawyer, Sophie said. That bad worse. At Keller & Brooks, 3 engineers questioned him about structural fatigue, river pressure, emergency access, and new municipal standards. Noah answered slowly at first. Then one of them rolled out the Mercy Ridge bridge plans. The hesitation left him. He traced stress points with his finger. He noticed a drainage problem. The preliminary report had missed. He proposed a support sequence that would keep one walkway open during construction. By the time he left, snow had melted from the sidewalks. Evelyn waited across the street inside a coffee shop. She had promised not to enter the building. She had not promised not to sit nearby. Noah saw her through the window. He entered and removed his coat. You waited. I had work. He looked at the empty table. Where is it in my bag? For 2 hours it was very demanding work. He sat opposite her. How did it go? I do not know. That bad, that good. Evelyn smiled. They asked about the employment gap. What did you say the truth? And one of them asked whether Sophie's care would interfere with deadlines. Evelyn's smile disappeared. Noah raised a hand. I told them that if a project could not survive an engineer having a child, it was designed badly. What did they say? They laughed. That is good, I think so. His phone rang. He looked at the number. Keller & Brooks. Evelyn sat very still while he answered. Yes, this is Noah. He listened. His eyes moved toward the street. Monday works. Another pause. Yes, thank you. He ended the call. Evelyn waited. Noah placed the phone on the table. 6-month contract, lead safety consultant. Her face opened into a smile. You earned it, I know. The words could have sounded proud. Instead, they sounded like relief. Evelyn reached across the table. Noah placed his hand in hers. He looked at their joined hands. People are watching. You returned $40,000 in a crowded lobby. That was different. How I was not thinking about kissing you. Evelyn's breath caught. Noah looked up. Neither moved. The coffee shop door opened, sending cold air through the room. The moment broke, but it did not disappear. Evelyn withdrew her hand slowly. "We should probably discuss that. Probably. Not here. No," when he smiled. "You really do turn everything into a meeting. I like clarity, I noticed." The bridge project began after New Year's Day. Noah spent mornings at the site and afternoons with Sophie. Keller and Brooks allowed flexible hours after seeing the schedule he proposed. He completed the first safety review ahead of deadline. Evelyn visited the site only once in an official capacity. She wore a hard hat and stood beside the project manager while Noah explained the stabilization plan. He spoke with quiet authority. Workers listened. No one looked at the grease on his hands as evidence of anything except work. Later, he found Evelyn near the temporary railing watching the river. "You are standing too close to the edge," he said. "I thought this bridge was safe." "It is." "Then why move?" "Because I asked." She stepped closer to him instead. Noah looked at her. "That was not what I meant." "I know." Below them, gray water moved beneath sheets of winter light. Evelyn rested her hands on the railing. "The board completed the first stage of my review, and I remain CEO." Noah studied her face. "You do not sound happy. They found no evidence that I knew about the theft. That is good. They also found that I approved the structure Grant used to hide it. What happens now? I lose direct control of the foundation. An independent counsel takes over. Does that bother you?" It did. And now Evelyn watched a barge move slowly beneath the bridge. Control and responsibility are not the same thing. I am beginning to understand that. Noah stood beside her. "Look at you. What learning without coffee?" She smiled. The wind lifted a strand of hair across her face. Noah reached toward it, then stopped. Evelyn noticed. "You can." His fingers brushed the hair behind her ear. The touch was brief. It remained on her skin after his hand lowered. "Dinner," he said. "What about it? I owe you one." "You do not owe me anything, I know." "Then why? Because I want to have dinner with you." "As the chief executive officer, you are not my chief executive officer." As Sophie's friend Noah looked toward the river. "As the woman I think about when I should be inspecting support beams." Evelyn's smile faded into something softer. "When Friday I have a board call, Saturday a development meeting, Sunday." She looked at him. "I am free Sunday. No private dining room. All right. No driver waiting outside. Marcus will object. Marcus can have dinner somewhere else. No expensive restaurant." Evelyn folded her arms. "You have many rules. I am taking you to Lena's. That is not a date. We are there every week." "Not after closing." "What are we eating? Grilled cheese?" She pretended to consider it. "Very well." Sunday night, Lena closed the diner at 7. She left 2 plates beneath metal covers and turned off half the lights. Sophie spent the evening with Marcus at a holiday concert in the park. Marcus had protested that he was not a babysitter. Sophie had informed him that neither was she. Noah wore a blue shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms. Evelyn arrived in a simple black sweater. No security detail followed her. No one asked for photographs. They sat in the booth where she had first watched him repair the sink. For the first 20 minutes they spoke about safe subjects. The bridge, the foundation, Sophie's school, Lena's ongoing war with the freezer. Then the quiet became more personal. Noah looked at the empty counter. Rachel loved places like this. Evelyn waited. She said expensive restaurants made people sit too straight. She sounds wise. She was. "Do you feel guilty sitting here with me?" The question surprised him. He looked toward the window. "Sometimes." Evelyn did not hide the hurt. Noah saw it. "Not because of you." "Then why? Because I promised her forever." Evelyn held his gaze. "You kept the promise. I am still here." "So is she." He looked down. Evelyn continued softly. "Loving someone after losing her does not remove what came before. You make that sound simple." "No." She looked toward the dark glass. "I make many things sound simple when they frighten me." Noah leaned back. "What frightens you about this?" "This?" He smiled faintly. "Very precise." Evelyn folded her hands. "You have a daughter who has already lost someone. You have a life that was hurt by a company with my name on it. You know what I look like when I am suspicious, controlling, and wrong. I have also seen you apologize. That does not erase the rest." "No." She looked at him. "Then why are you here?" "Because you stayed after the apology became inconvenient. The answer settled into the space between them. Noah reached across the table. This time Evelyn met his hand halfway. "I cannot promise easy," he said. "I do not trust easy. I cannot let Sophie become attached to someone who disappears when this becomes difficult. I will not promise never to make a mistake. Good. I can promise not to hide from it." Noah looked at her fingers around his. "That is more than most people offer." When they stepped outside, snow had begun falling in large, quiet flakes. The diner lights glowed behind them. Noah stood beneath the awning with his hands in his coat pockets. Evelyn looked toward the empty street. This was a good meeting. No, it was a terrible meeting. She turned. "Why no agenda, no notes? We barely discussed action items. I see your point. Maybe we should try a date instead." Evelyn smiled. "I would like that." Noah stepped closer. He lifted one hand toward her face slow enough to give her time to move. She did not. His fingertips touched her cheek. For a moment the city became very quiet. Then he kissed her. It was gentle, careful. A question asked without words. Evelyn placed one hand against his chest. His heart beat hard beneath her palm. When they separated, neither of them moved far. Noah rested his forehead lightly against hers. "I have been thinking about that since the coffee shop. You are very slow. I design bridges. We respect structural testing." A loud tapping came from the diner window. They turned. Sophie stood behind the glass beside Marcus, giving them an enthusiastic thumbs up. Marcus covered his eyes with one hand. Evelyn laughed and hid her face against Noah's shoulder. His arms closed around her. The moment was not polished. It was not private. It was real. By Christmas Eve, Noah's apartment still had the same buzzing porch light and the same small tree near the window. The ceiling no longer leaked. The landlord had finally repaired the roof after the city housing office inspected the building. The rent envelopes remained in the drawer, but the one marked Christmas was no longer empty. Noah had filled it from his first consulting payment. He did not spend much. A science kit for Sophie, a new scarf for Lena, a small bottle of expensive coffee for Marcus, who claimed not to understand the joke. Evelyn arrived carrying a plain paper bag. Sophie opened the door. "You are late. It is 6 minutes past 7. Late, I apologize." "Did you bring dessert?" Evelyn lifted the bag. "Pie. You can come in." Noah stood near the tree. He wore a dark green sweater Sophie had chosen because she said blue made him look too serious. Evelyn removed her coat. For a moment they simply looked at each other. Sophie sighed loudly. "You already kissed. You do not have to act weird." Noah closed his eyes. Evelyn handed Sophie the pie. Kitchen. Sophie carried it away. Noah approached Evelyn. "She has become dangerous. She was dangerous when I met her." He kissed her cheek. The apartment filled with the smell of soup bread and cinnamon. Lena arrived with too much food. Marcus brought a small speaker and played old Christmas music. Sophie placed paper crowns on everyone's heads. Evelyn wore hers without protest. After dinner, Sophie sat beneath the tree and passed out handmade gifts. She gave Lena a paper coffee cup that read, "Best Pancake Boss." Marcus received a drawing of himself driving a sleigh. Noah received a bridge made from craft sticks. Finally, Sophie approached Evelyn with a folded gold star. "This is for your wallet." Evelyn looked at the star. "My wallet so you do not lose it again." Noah laughed. Evelyn took the black leather wallet from her bag. The $40,000 was gone. The cash had been returned to its verified source during the investigation. The flash drive remained sealed as evidence. Only ordinary cards and identification filled the pockets now. Evelyn opened the inner sleeve. Sophie placed the star inside. "There." Evelyn closed the wallet. "What does it do?" "It reminds you." Of what Sophie thought for a moment. That finding something is not the same as knowing what it is worth. The room became still. Noah looked at his daughter. "Where did you hear that I made it up?" Lena pointed toward Noah. "She gets that from Rachel." Noah's eyes moved to the photograph on the shelf. For the first time, the memory did not pull him away from the room. It widened it. Evelyn touched the wallet. "I will keep it forever." Sophie looked suspicious. "You lose things. Only important wallets." Later, after Lena and Marcus left, Sophie fell asleep beneath a blanket on the couch with the stuffed fox under one arm. Snow gathered along the window ledge. Noah and Evelyn stood together in the small kitchen. He washed dishes. She dried them. "You missed a spot," she said. He looked at the plate, where she pointed. "That is part of the design. It is soup. Rustic design." Evelyn handed the plate back. Noah rinsed it again. When the final dish was placed in the cabinet, he looked toward Sophie. "She is breathing well. You checked 7 times. 8. Evelyn rested her shoulder against his. "She is all right tonight." Noah nodded. "Tonight is enough." They stood together without speaking. The apartment was small enough for every sound to belong to everyone. The heater clicked. Sophie shifted beneath the blanket. A car moved slowly through the snow outside. Evelyn had spent years living in rooms so large that silence became another wall. Here, silence felt inhabited. Noah looked at her. "You could have gone anywhere tonight. I came where I wanted to be. Even with the leaking window, it is repaired. The dangerous coffee I am adapting. The crowded kitchen." She moved closer, especially the crowded kitchen. He placed his hand against her cheek. "I do not know what this becomes. Neither do I. I spent years preparing for the next thing to go wrong." Evelyn covered his hand with hers. "You do not have to stop being careful. What do I do? Let someone stand beside you while you are." Noah looked toward Sophie, then back at Evelyn. He kissed her slowly. No urgency, no need to prove anything, only 2 people choosing not to step away. Months later, spring sunlight spread across the restored Mercy Ridge pedestrian bridge. New steel supports rose beneath the walkway. Fresh railings caught the light. Below, the Monongahela River moved dark and steady between its banks. Noah stood near the center span wearing a white hard hat and a Hartwell Community Safety badge clipped to his jacket. The 6-month consulting contract had become a permanent role after the independent engineering firm recommended him. He had accepted only after the position was reviewed by the board and separated from Evelyn's direct authority. His title read, Director of Community Safety and Infrastructure. He had changed it twice before signing. Sophie ran along the finished walkway carrying her stuffed fox beneath one arm. "Slow down," Noah called. "I am testing it." "That is not how testing works. You said it is safe." "It is." "Then stop worrying. I am your father. It is contractual." She laughed and continued toward Lena and Marcus at the far end. Evelyn walked beside Noah. No cameras followed them. The official opening ceremony had ended an hour earlier. The speeches were over. The city officials had left. Families from Mercy Ridge remained near the river eating sandwiches beneath a pavilion. The Foundation's first independent report had been published that morning. More than 300 delayed cases had been reviewed. Emergency medication had been restored to dozens of children. Several families had received reimbursement for treatment they had paid for through loans. Grant Mercer awaited trial on fraud, obstruction, and theft charges. The investigation continued. The system was not healed. It was finally visible. Evelyn placed one hand inside her coat pocket. The old black wallet remained there. Sophie's paper star had softened at the edges but stayed folded inside. Noah looked across the bridge. "You know what I thought when I found it? The wallet." "Yes." Evelyn waited. "I thought about the medicine." She did not speak. For maybe 3 seconds I thought about taking enough to pay the pharmacy. His voice remained steady. I imagined Sophie breathing without fear. I imagined the rent paid, the truck repaired. Evelyn looked at him. "Why did you not take it?" Noah watched his daughter at the end of the bridge. "Because I would have had to teach her that fear decides who we become." He turned toward Evelyn. "I was afraid anyway." She slipped her hand into his. "I am glad you told me. I was not always sure I could. Why now?" "Because you stopped needing me to be perfect before you trusted me." Evelyn looked down at their hands. "I was wrong about many things. You were. You enjoy saying that." "A little." She smiled. Sophie called from the far end. "Are you two coming?" Noah lifted his free hand. "We are." He looked at Evelyn. The first night she had followed his truck through the rain, she had believed distance would show her the truth. Now there was no distance between them. Noah began walking. Evelyn moved beside him. Not ahead, not behind. Beside him across a bridge built to carry more weight than either of them had once believed they could share.